Hola muchachos, I'm your host Cockles. We are going to have a change of pace. This video is going to be solely based on haunted or possessed items or dolls. Let's get it. Charles DeSoto 4955. Charles DeSoto 4955. Damn. My dad was about 20 when he got an Ouija board and decided to use the board at a small party with his sister. And everyone who has heard of this board should know the rules. But if not, here's one of the biggest rules. Always say goodbye before leaving the board. But his sister did not realize this, and she got up to leave the game because she got scared. As she went to get up, the triangle piece was launched off the board right beside her face. It then lodged point first, an inch and a half into the wall behind her. This is honestly one of the worst things that ever happened to my dad and his sister. He is still terrified of Ouija boards, and he won't even step near them anymore. And my dad is a scary man. He even used to have his own paranormal team with his friends, and they traveled all over the country investigating, and experienced many terrifying things. But this was, by his own words, his most chilling and terrifying. That's creepy. What does he expect though? Alyssa Ellison, 8879. This one isn't a doll moving story, but a true creepy one. About 5 or 4 years ago, I used to have this doll that when you lay down, it closes its eyes. I always thought of it as creepy, but my mom was just telling my brother he was messing with me. A few months later, after I got the doll, I was about to go to the living room. But after a few seconds of realizing, it looked like it was bleeding. There wasn't blood from my family or from my pets. I ran to my mom's room and was carrying the doll. I was really young, so I thought nothing of it. I placed my doll on my mother's pillow and told my mom, "It's bleeding. Can you fix it, Mom? She looks hurt." My mom thought I was messing around and dyed water red with food coloring that was lying on the counter. But she went back and realized the food coloring was still on the counter and nobody touched it. To this day, I still don't know how the doll was bleeding, but thankfully, it's not in my house because I threw it away about 2 years later, realizing dolls don't bleed. Dolls don't bleed. She hasn't watched Chucky, has she? Aiden and Zam, we're gonna call you 8973. I can assure dolls coming to life and moving is a real thing. At my old house, I had a doll ever since I was a kid, but it was always kept in the storage room we didn't use. This one day, my dad opened the cupboard where the doll was kept to look for some stuff, and he kept it back. But the next morning, he saw it on the couch. We ignored that, but a few hours later, it was in the kitchen. This happened quite a few times. We finally threw away the doll, but we still experienced some paranormal activities since that one experience. Even as a kid, I remember seeing dolls move, but since I was only 4 and had little idea of paranormal activities, I was amused by it. It's probably his dad, like when he's out of the room moving it here to there. Axis 7191. As a child, I slept on the bottom bunk, while my sister slept on the top bunk. One night, my Ernie doll suddenly popped up at the head of the bed by my face and said "boo" in the typical Ernie voice. No one was in the room. My sister was on the top bunk at the time. Even to this day, when I mention how I saw my Ernie doll do this, she tells me that she heard it say "boo" from where she was. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Oh, I like that one. Damn it, Ernie. Incognito Girl 6201. Not really a haunted doll story, but I've never forgotten a story my friend's cousin told me when I was like 9 years old. I don't know where she heard the story, if it was someone she knew, or if it was something she read or what, but I guess there was a chick who had been hired to babysit a couple kids for a day and a half, and the family had this creepy doll that really freaked her out. She said she felt like it was watching her, but because it was in this antique chair and looked like it belonged there, and didn't know the family very well, she didn't move it. She put the kids in bed and went to sleep herself, and the next day, it was just gone. So assuming the kids had just moved it, she called up the parents to ask if it was okay for them to play with it. And they were really confused and told her they didn't have a clown doll. They found out some time later that it had been an actual person. some creepy dwarf dude had broken into the house and just sat there watching her and the kids all effing day long. I never was sure if it was a true story or not, but looking back as an adult it doesn't seem likely. But as a kid the idea terrified me. I refused to get any sort of doll that didn't fit in my hand. I don't blame her. Yeah, it just sounds like some boogeyman stuff. Next, like 05, I had a creepy doll. I had a creepy clown doll. Like its face looked more like a clown prop for a horror movie than an actual doll for children. But I liked it for its weirdness, so much that I used to put it up on a chair I had next to my bed. Because of its position, it always seemed like it would stare at people coming from the door and follow them in the hallway. And since my mom was so creeped out by it, she decided to throw it away without me knowing. I was sad for what she did, but even now, whenever the doll is mentioned, she gets chills. All I'm picturing is those dolls that are designed to look at you. A-Caps 6341. I have a doll from 1967 I bought on eBay. On Christmas Eve a few years ago, I was telling my mom and sister how Millie moves. Just then, with all of us looking at her, she shifted her body and moved her arm. My mom screamed and my sister and I laughed and laughed. What? Desktop kitty. When I was really young, we lived in a house that was haunted. My brother, who is older, denies it was haunted. But no one in my family will talk about the house. We also have no photos of our life at that house. No Christmas pictures, no birthday party photos. It's like someone went through our photo albums and removed every photo taken of our life in that house. The only photos we have dating to that time we lived at that house are photos taken at other places. Photos taken at school, at the park, at a relative or friend's house, etc. But not a single one taken anywhere at the house. Yeah, nothing suspicious about that at all. That's creepy. That's just weird. Coco Jam official. I had a kinda big doll that can actually walk when I was around 7 years old. One day I saw the doll walking out of nowhere. I obviously picked it up to turn it off at the back, but it has no battery lid and no battery inside. I immediately threw the doll at the floor and never saw it again. Did the doll run off or something? You never saw it again? Or did it roll away like Chucky or something? There are walking dolls. Or there's a few clips rolling around. You can see them. It's kind of creepy, but yeah, they make walking dolls. I don't know if they have batteries or not. Decepticon Leader 316. I had a haunted teddy bear. I woke up one night and the bear was transparent in the middle of the bed and disappeared. I always had a nightmare of me screaming and nothing coming out, and never dreamed of any other places but that apartment. One day the bear just disappeared. I found a photo of it, and in the photo you can see the bear's eyes looking at me. Not straight ahead, like all the teddy bears come with, but looking at me like it wanted to kill me. Oh, I don't like that. Kyria Garcia, 5453. Story time. I once had a doll when I was a kid, and at night I always peed in my bed. And while changing my pants in the middle of the night, my doll would just stare at me. And I made my mom burn the doll. And one day after my mom burned the doll, my mom saw one on social media exactly like my doll. Creepy. Oh, that was tough to get through. Whew. The Broken Mystic, 879. My mom had a friend who once told a story. Her daughter had gotten into a violent argument with her. She later went to play with her Barbies, which obviously her mom bought. And one of her Barbies opened its mouth and took a nice bite out of her finger. She came running and screaming in fear, as her finger was bleeding. To this day, the girl is now grown up. She is 1 year older than me and I am 21, and doesn't deny the story. Super creepy. That is creepy. Katie Miller, 4517. So I used to have an American Girl doll, and it absolutely terrified me. You may be asking, then why did you get it? I didn't. It was a birthday present. I never wanted a doll. I never liked dolls. 1, I wasn't into girl toys. And 2, my mom made me watch Child's Play, and the fact that my doll had red hair just made me so uneasy. So, I hid it at the bottom of my toy box, and when I got home from school, she was outside the box, just sitting there. Mind you, my mom is a nurse, and my dad was a mechanic. My brother, well, he wasn't even born yet. So there was nobody at the house to move her out of the box. I showed my grandma, which is who watched me until my mom or dad got home, but she thought nothing of it, and just put it back in the box. My mom got home and I told her, but she just said that Willow, the doll, wasn't able to move, and that I was just imagining it. Thankfully, when I told my dad, who also doesn't like dolls, he helped me get rid of it. We burned it. Sounds like we overreacted now that I think of it, but me and my dad absolutely hated dolls. Thanks to my mom, who thought it was wise to show a soft-hearted man and a 5-year-old child a horror movie about a crazy doll. That's funny. All any Ariel? 5652? 5652. I remember when I was younger, my mom had a few glass dolls that me and my brother were afraid of. And one night I slept with my mom because my brother was at a friend's house, and I didn't want to sleep alone. So I went to sleep with my mom. And my mom had one of these glass dolls, which was the scariest one she had. So me and my mom go to sleep. Then I wake up really early, and I looked at the doll, which was looking at the doors. I kept looking at the doll. The doll's head moved to look at me, and as soon as the doll looked at me, I woke my mom up and told her the entire thing. And after that, my mom threw the doll away. Well, I don't blame her, holy moly. Wonder how old you were. Sad Anime Girl 761. Growing up in a haunted house, fully equipped with moving dolls, none of this stuff scares me anymore. As a kid, however, I knew these dolls were looking at me. I would try to hide under the blanket hoping they wouldn't move, but every morning they would be in a different position or place in the room. Banco 1883. I have a little sister, and a couple years ago when I was like 12, she used to buy many dolls. One doll really freaked me out, and I was scared of that very specific doll for years. Even when we weren't at home, like on vacation or something, I'd have nightmares about it, and I would even see it in many places randomly. It was probably hallucinations. We moved from that house to a new one, and I thought it'd go away, but it didn't. It literally was in the storage room, and I was angry at my sister, but I didn't show it because she'd think I'm mad. It even moved places, like when I kept it in a closet, and it was in my room the next instant. Now, I am in a different country, but I still think of that doll sometimes. Damn, she moved off to a different country. Sephiroth 8377. I have a haunted doll. It's awesome. It was scary at first, but now the spirit will walk down the stairs and seat next to me while I have a smoke. Steps make sound, and the step I sit on weighs down, more like someone else is sitting with me. Watches me, you can feel it, whispers from time to time. Most importantly, changes things around the house to make me a better parent. When I want to play video games on my own, it won't let me. It'll cause a situation that makes me spend time with my daughter instead, the owner of the doll. If my little one wants to watch certain shows or play her games, it has a way of making it happen. My partner and I don't fight much, but when we do, it'll cause a distraction and stop us fighting, which in turn makes us focus our attention on our kid instead to make sure she is okay and happy. It's a good spirit that looks out for my kiddo and the rest of us. Either that or my child is supernatural. Oh my. Oh my. Mickey's World 13. My mother told me a story when she was little. So my family is Catholic. My grandparents had 9 children. My mother said she shared a room with her sister, and every night her father would say the rosary with his children. But her sister was the only one who was stubborn to go, so she acted as if she was sleeping. So they went on about praying, saying the rosary, and you see her sister running out of the room because she's seen a doll moving with red eyes. The way a nutcracker would move in the form of its arms positioned like that. From now on, she started to pray. Ha ha ha. True story. But now my mom and my aunt are passed away. But that's a story that I remember. Oh, possessed nutcracker. Angela, 6025. My haunted doll story. When I was younger, I used to have a doll. I got the doll at a yard sale. And once I saw it, I immediately fell in love with it. When my dad told me it was okay to get it, I went up to the lady to pay for the doll. She got really nervous and started sweating all of a sudden. It was kind of windy out, and she had on short sleeves and shorts on, but it was summer, so it could have been that she was hot. I asked her how much for the doll, and she told me to just take it. I was really excited and happy that the doll was free. I played with that doll every day and took it everywhere with me. After a couple days that I had the doll, I started having breathing problems. My mom was scared, so she took me to the doctor's office and they told me I had asthma. Even though I had asthma, I took that doll everywhere with me. I loved that doll until one day I was asleep with the doll next to me. And the next morning when I woke up, it was on the floor. The doll wasn't a mechanical doll and didn't use any batteries. I was creeped out once I found it on the floor. For the day, I just put it on my bed. Once nighttime came around, I went to my room and it was still on the bed. I thought I just accidentally pushed it off the bed last night. So, when I was going to sleep, I put it on my bedside table. The next morning when I woke up, the doll was on the bed next to me. I freaked out and told my friends and family. One of my older brother's friend said that it was normal and that dolls move at night. That was the only doll I ever had that moved at night. The next night, I wanted to see if my brother's friend was telling the truth or not. So I put my doll in my wardrobe and closed it. I also put a couple Barbie dolls on my bedside table. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't any of my family members that were pranking me, so I locked the door. The next morning, the doll was right beside me on the bed, sitting up, and the Barbies were still right where I put them. I was terrified. I grabbed the doll and threw it in the trash can. Once Tuesday came around, I watched the garbage men pick up the garbage and I saw them throw the doll away as well. Once I got rid of that doll, somehow I didn't have asthma anymore and I could breathe perfectly fine. To this day, I still believe that doll was haunted. It's like a Goosebumps episode. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's terrifying. Droopy Willow 5207. I remember I used to have a Furby, and at some point, I just didn't find it fun to play with it anymore. I remember taking the batteries out and tossing it up on the shelf in my closet. For about a year it stayed in there, and I almost forgot I even had it. Then, while I was trying to sleep, I heard a bizarre laughing coming from my closet, and it scared the daylights out of me. It took me a good 10 minutes to find the courage to get up and run to turn the light on, and another 5 before I could even approach the closet. Sure enough, when I opened it, nothing was there. I was so damn confused. Then it laughed again, and I noticed it was coming from the Furby. You know, the one that had no batteries? I double-checked that night, and I can assure you that it was empty. Needless to say, I got rid of that damn thing real quick. Holy moly. There were some good ones in here, holy crap. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I was your host, Cockles, and that's a wrap. That's a wrap. Take care.